to speak about Community Hands of Hope, LLC, and also regarding from an anger management specialist perspective. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Good evening, Ms. Casey. Good evening, Ms. Shonda. Thank you so much. And good evening for those of you who may join by Facebook Live. So one of the things that I just want to say that I am a certified anger management specialist. It's called the CAMS 1 that is recognized by the National Anger Management Association. I'm also a certified batters intervention program specialist, able to conduct batter interventions program. So Community Hands of Hope was founded due to my experience in child welfare, working in child welfare for almost 5 years and noticing the dynamics of the family between parents and children and within our community. And one of the major underlying issues that I saw was anger, which was the root of a lot of things that happen within the family. So that's how Community Hands of Hope was founded to become a resource within our community to help in the areas of anger, aggression, and power and control. So that's how Community Hands of Hope was founded. Shonda, you're muted. You are muted.
I'm sorry, can you hear me now? Okay. So as I was saying is, there are several people that's angry for different sorts of reasons. Is it possible for a person to be angry and not know why they are angry?
That's a very good answer and a question. That's a very good question, and the answer to that question is yes, because when we define what anger is, and I took some notes because I know you had quite a few questions, but anger is it's a psychobiological branch of dealing with relations of interaction between the body and behavior, and so that psychological behavior, it affects different parts of our brain. It affects different parts of our brain, which is the primitive brain, is the portion of our brain that is automatically to the fight flight mode. Whereas when we're angry, that's the part of the brain that we respond from. And so it is fair for me to say that to everyone that there is no cure for anger. There is no cure for anger, and we cannot obtain a new brain. So what we learn to do with and through anger management is learn to manage our anger in a healthy manner and not respond out of the primitive brain, which is the one that's always with the fight and the flight. So when you also ask that question, Ms. Shonda, is it possible to be angry and not know it? Well, one of the things that derives out of anger is that anger comes from an unmet need, meaning that in most cases it comes from childhood. It means that there is a need that was unmet somewhere in an individual's life. And so that unmet need, what an anger management specialist does is work with individuals to find out what that unmet need is, to arrive to a place where they can be okay and not respond out of the primitive brain response.
Okay, very good. And one of the questions that I was going to ask you is it possible in adults that some of their anger results from issues from their childhood that had never been resolved? So you touched on that You touched on that. You didn't speak in your educational background, the first question, which I know you personally. So I want to talk about child welfare for a moment, for the fact that you worked in that field for a long time. And with working in that field, do you, in your opinion, do you feel that family dynamics play a great role in why a lot of our youth are angry?
Okay. My education is I have a Bachelor of Science degree in criminal justice with a minor in sociology. I have a master's degree in business administration. I have the certified child welfare case manager, which was needed to work in child welfare, along with the certified batter's intervention program and a certified anger management specialist. And so, to that question of um, in child welfare, um, children are angry, and for many reasons, due to the breakdown of the family dynamics. And that's not just in child welfare alone. And we can see that across the board, because anger is everywhere. Anger is in our home, anger is in our schools, anger is on our jobs, anger is in the police department. Anger is everywhere. So to just speak of it just in children, that's not the only reason that we're angry. But if you think about the dynamics of a family and what makes up that family, and a child is reared in that type environment, that means that what they are exposed to, oftentimes it results in actions and behavior. So it is true that how a child is reared and what they are exposed to can play a great percentage on their actions and their behavior. But there's a couple of things that when we talk about anger, here at Community Hands of Hope, and as an anger management specialist, I come from a non-judgmental perspective, meaning that you have an opportunity. As I'm talking to people, as I'm counseling people, it's okay to be angry. If we will all be honest, we're all angry at certain times of our life and certain moments, but it is not okay to act out in aggression with that anger against another person and against oneself. So it's okay to be angry. But, even coming from a biblical perspective, and not that I left that off purposely, but I am a pastor as well. Wearing multiple hats, I am a pastor as well, and the Bible teaches us to be angry, but to sin not. So basically, it is okay to be angry, but what we have to work towards is not allowing that anger to control us, to a point of a no return, or to situations and circumstances that we will regret, that we were hurt oneself or we'll hurt someone else.
Okay, so let's talk about Putnam County for a moment, because in our day-to-day lives, we see that there's a lot of violence that has taken over our communities all over Putnam County, not just inside of the city of Palaca. So there's many questions as to why people can be so angry and go as far as the physical violence. But with the resources that is already here in place in this county, and most times the only resources is you have to do something. You have to get in trouble, and then you're court ordered to have to attend anger management. Community Hands of Hope, you're new on the scene. So how is it you will be able to assist the community? Because this is just my opinion, there has not been enough of resources in the past to help our adults and our youth when they fall into these crises, unless they go through the judicial system. So what makes Community Hands of Hope different that you will be able to have an impact in this community?
Well, one thing, Community Hands of Hope, as you stated before, Community Hands of Hope is very new. But what I have been working on is reaching out to the schools, reaching out to the sheriff department, the police department, the surrounding counties of schools, in all of the schools, and trying to become a resource that can be allocated in a time that that can help people through their very, through their moments, through their moments of frustration, anger, and things of that nature. So what Community Hands of Hope is also open to, and I hope that some people can hear this, is that I'm looking to partner with people and sponsors to help get people the help and the need that they have if they cannot afford it. Eventually, Community Hands of Hope, will add some additional services and maybe work towards a sliding scale fee to help people that are not court ordered to take anger management. But I will say to you, Ms. Shonda, that oftentimes people do not want this type of service until they get in trouble. So what Community Hands of Hope is trying to push is the education component. It's the component of what we're doing right now is bringing awareness, and so unless we can't push that education component, and then you find yourself in a place where you have to have these court ordered and mandated anger management classes, which can be individual or group, which becomes an 8-week process. So with the education component, that means that I can sit and talk with people, I can counsel people, I can do a presentation, or I can speak for 30 minutes, I can speak for an hour and a half. It's whatever the need is for employers, churches, organizations, and within our community to bring awareness to these anger management components. Now, right here, I want to take an opportunity because there are 5 types of what we call as we go from anger to rage. And so the education component is to help us to identify where we are within oneself when we arrive to a conclusion of anger, which will categorize whether it be youth or whether it be young men, whether it be young women, because anger does not discriminate. And there's no cure for it. There's no pill that we can give you to cure anger. There's nothing that we can snap our finger and we can make it go away. And so people have to understand is that we have to set short and realistic goals to learn how to manage anger in a constructive way and not a destructive manner. So I do want to talk about the 5 types of rage, because oftentimes when a person goes from 1 to 80, it takes a moment sometime, and then you heard the old saying that people can go from 1 to 100 really, really quickly. But once a person get between 80 and 100, then there's no talking them down. There's no trying to calm them down because they've already arrived to 80 to 100. So what an anger management specialist does is coming in to work with you between 1 and 80, because once you get from 80 to 100, there's really no way of talking most people down off the ledge. But the 5 types of rage is, number 1 is survival. That means that when you're talking about survival, we're talking about wartime, or we're talking about DV, domestic violence situations. And basically what you're seeking in that is that they're seeking safety. When we talk about survival, the type of survival that they're looking for safety. Number 2 is an abandonment. Abandonment means that any traumatic experience that has happened in someone someone's life, whether it been at childhood or whether it, as an adult, divorce, sexual abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse, and all of these things. And so what you're seeking when you come to the place of abandonment is you're seeking a connection. You're seeking a connection with something or someone that can help you feel secure in this anger. Number three is a part of rage is impotent. When someone has given a terminal illness and they have been diagnosed 6 months to live or something of that nature, means that they're angry because they are out of control. This situation, they have no control of this situation. So basically, what they're seeking to have is control. And then number four is one of the greatest portions of rage in children and adults is shame. It is shame and blame. And that is when someone feels disrespected. And so what they're seeking for is unconditional love and respect. And then number five is intense rage, and it's called seething. And we saw that on January the 6th at the insurrection at the White House. And so when you think about where do we fall, what category does the person fall in when we're dialoguing, when we're talking, when we're trying to handle a situation, is going to drive us to what we are trying to find the unmet need within that individual. So there are many different aspects of, when you talked about childhood, you talked about children, and being in child welfare, we're trauma trained. We're trauma trained. And so therefore, what the anger management specialist does is work with individuals on what we call as an anger log. And we meet week by week and we work on the anger log to identify triggers, to identify trigger and try to work towards coping mechanisms, work towards calming down techniques, breathing techniques. We work towards what we call a 30-30-30. Step away for a minute, walk out the room, breathing, and then also identifying like music or something that can calm you down. So.
Okay, very good. So as you were speaking about the 5 stages of rage, those are a lot of emotions that we as people go through. And I'm aware that anger is a part of our emotions. And one of the things you said earlier on is that typically people do not attend these type of classes because unless they're court ordered through the judicial system. What are some of the ways? I understand that you're saying that through the educational system and educating people, but do you have a way that you have came up with to try to break this barrier to let people know that it is okay if you're angry? There are things that can be done to help you to get through this. You don't have to wait until you're locked up, you're going to jail, or you're on probation, or whatever reasons that causes people to have to take these types of classes. So have you came up with a strategy to try to break these barriers?
The strategy, one strategy is, and I appreciate you allowing me the opportunity, is to have this seminar, to have this question and answer. And I don't see where anybody else is asking any questions. I mean, if anyone have questions, by all means, that's what the seminar is for. If you have any questions, you can put them in, put them in the chat, put them in the Facebook Live chat, and I have an additional device and we could, kind of dialogue that. But one of the one of the greatest ways is what you're doing right now, LaShonda, is just having a seminar, just, you're introducing me to the community, and you are allowing me an opportunity to speak about something that I'm very passionate about. Um, the strategy is to try to keep talking to people and connecting with people about awareness and education, and hopefully an opportunity to stand before stand before other people, to to speak to other people, to speak to people, like in prison or in jail before they get out. So those are strategies that I'm trying to work towards, that if I can get into the prisons, if I can get into the jail systems and start talking to people before they are released, which give them some new tools and some new coping mechanisms to help them cope with this emotional state. Anger it places people at risk of being unhealthy emotionally. It places people at risk of being unhealthy emotionally. And so the strategy is that I'm working on and working towards, and hopefully someone else will see this video, LaShonda, and give me an opportunity to come to their location or come to their place to talk about anger management. And one of the things about it, if you don't ask questions, no question is too embarrassed. I mean, there's no poor questions, there's no bad questions. One of the things that the anger management specialist has to know is what is going on. Okay. Now, anger management is not to be a substitute for mental health. Okay, I need to put that out there. Anger management is not a substitute for mental health. If someone has a mental health diagnosis and they're not taking their medication, anger management is not going to help them. Okay, anger management is not for them. If a person is addicted to drugs and they're still on drugs, those are two of the reasons that anger management is not going to benefit you either, because drugs alter our mind. So part of the requirement for the anger management courses, whether it's coming from the court or whether it's coming from a personal standpoint, is that the person has to be willing to participate. The person has to be willing to participate, meaning that the person have to talk about, have to be honest and be open. I'm coming from a judgmental standpoint. I don't need to know what's going on in your home. I don't need to know some of this personal stuff. All I need to know is how to identify what do you need as an individual to be okay. And so my job is to work with you for 8 individual weeks to find out what do you need to be okay. Every week that we come together, we will talk about this anger log. Now, this anger log is a very basic anger log. It has 5 questions on it. Like, it will have the date, it will have the situation, it would have from 1 to 10, your level of anger, with 10 being the highest. And it would have from 1 to 10, the aggression, like, did you hit somebody? Did you punch somebody? Did you kick a wall? And things of that nature. So every time I meet with you, I need to know every incident that you got, that you got angry, and how did you respond to that anger. So LaShonda, if people are not willing to talk, don't think that you're going to come sit before me and I'm going to do all the talking. That's not what anger management counseling is all about. And so I wanted to put that disclaimer out there. Mental health, this is not a substitute for mental health. So those who have mental health diagnoses is those who are addicted to drugs. You must be sober, or if you have a mental health diagnosis, you must be on your medication in order to participate or receive any type of benefits from anger management.
Okay, very good. I do agree that there is a major difference between anger management and mental health. So I'm coming to a close on the questions that I have. As of now, no one has chimed in. I keep checking to see if they have any questions. Please know that if after this live is over, if anyone has questions, they are able to freely reach out to Ms. Jekita Williams on her Facebook page. Before we end this call, she will give out her information of how she can be reached through Community Hands of Hope. I would like to say that I think that what you're doing is very awesome. It is very much needed in this community. I have had the opportunity to be able to send some youth through your services, and I have been able to see a major difference in their behavior. Children oftentimes does not know how to express themselves. And I would like to say to any parents who are listening now or who may listen in the future, it is okay to be able to have someone else to come in and assist you with your child. One of the hardest things that I had to do was realize that I needed more help with the children that I am raising. I had to pray and seek God first, because I am overly attached, as many parents are. So I want you to know from personal experience that I have used Community Hands of Hope, and I have had great success with using these services. And I would recommend these services to anyone who may be having any type of behavior problems out of their children, or even as an adult. I have known Miss Jekita for a while, even before she was licensed in anger management. She has helped me over the years. So I can attest to that she's very knowledgeable in this field. She is very good and hands on in this field. So please feel free to reach out to her if you have any questions. Do not wait till your children are in the judicial system or you are in the judicial system and have to be ordered to take these classes. Having anger problems is a part of our emotions, especially growing up in underprivileged communities or just going through abusive relationships, failed marriages, single parent. All types of factors play into why you may be angry. So please feel free to reach out to Ms. Jekita Williams at Community Hands of Hope if you should have any questions. Ms. Jekita, those are all the questions that I have for you in this session. I hope that at a later date, we will be able to do this again, because this is a very much needed service in this community. Before we end, could you please tell the community how they may be able to reach you and if there's anything else that you need to say? Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, LaShonda. I am currently working with two youth, and it's just been amazing that when they come into my presence, just talking to them and working on this anger log, I'm able to show them certain times, certain situations, certain circumstances. And so I want to add to that there are 7 conditions that increase the functioning out of the primitive brain. The primitive brain is the part of the brain that sends us to the fight and the flight mode, which are those unhealthy emotions. And it's called sad hats. It's called sad hats. And basically, if you have 2 of the 7 sad hats, it is more than likely 50 to 60% that you're going to go to the fight or the flight mode, meaning that if you're a fighter, you're going to fight. If you're one that cuss folk out, if you're one that batter people, if you're one that, so the sad hats is S is for stress, A is for anxiety, D is for drugs, H is for hungry, A is for alcohol, T is for tired, and S is for sickness and pain. So that means that if you have 2 out of the 7 conditions, if you're stressed, If you're stressed and on drugs, then there's a great percentage that you're going to act out of the primitive brain with the fight and the flight. If you're hungry and you're sick, there's a great chance that you're going to be short tempered and you're going to be, you're going to act out of that primitive brain. If you're anxious and you are tired, more than likely, and some people have 3 or 4 of the sad hats. And some people may even have all 7 of the sad hats. And so what it does is bring an awareness to the sad hats, because I need to know what day, what time it was that you experienced 2 of the 7 sad hats. And we work towards fixing that in the near future, because part of anger management is bringing awareness. It's bringing self-awareness. Now, one thing, LaShonda, that I didn't mention, in spite of all the things that I mentioned, that the things that sends us into rage, that we're living in a time now to add to all of the anger and the rage is culture anxiety. And culture anxiety is COVID-19. So, with all of the rage that we already have and we're dealing with, guess what we have on top of that? We have COVID-19. There's been losses, there's been sadness, there's been depression, there's been death, and some people are not able to bounce back from that. So, what do we do with all of this anger and this rage? Is I bring awareness and we sit down and we talk about it week after week on an anger log. We talk about these sad hats. We talk about what you need to be okay. Remember the 5 instances of rage that I mentioned to you. Each one of those categories needed a certain thing in order to be okay. If I ask each of you right now, at what position and where you are in life, what do you need to be okay? So that's only part of what we need, and then we work towards trying to meet that need in order to be okay, because I want to reiterate that anger comes and derives from an unmet need. I saw it, my internet kind of filtered a little bit. So I want to repeat that, that anger derives from an unmet need. So as a child, if when you think about the child welfare system, children who are separated from their parents or children who were abused or abandoned or neglected, they're at high risk to have some of these 7 conditions of sad hats. And so I just want to show you that anger is like turned inward. It is turned inward, and our actions and our responses come outward from what we really feel. So, as many people say that they're not angry, when you look at their behaviors and their actions, you can see that they're very angry about something. I hope, LaShonda, that I can get connected and I can go to work within our community to meet people, to speak with people, to talk with people, to bring awareness to this. To this problem, this anger problem. And so the anger management program, I work out of 12 modules. There's 12 different modules that I work out of. And more specifically for children, there's 2 specific models that are very huge. Even as I'm talking to the youth that I'm talking to, is shame and bullying. Shame and bullying are 2 of the greatest things that is causing people to act out or respond to their anger. So if there are no other questions, if anyone have any questions, please put them in the comments. If not, I'm going to go ahead and provide you with my contact information. I hope that, someone will contact me and let's sit down and let's talk about it. I will say this, I have shared, and I'm a very transparent person. And one of the reasons that I became an anger management specialist also is because there was a time in my life where I was angry. There was a time in my life where I was angry, as a child and going through some things. And so, what better person can help someone else with their anger than someone who has experienced it? And also, I raised an ungovernable teen, and so therefore I can speak to you from the child side, and I can also speak to you from a parent side when we begin to talk about this thing of anger management. And so I will say this as well, Shonda, that if you're planning on sending your children to me from a parental perspective, you have to make sure that the children participate. Don't stress the child out and purposely make them angry before they come to talk to me, because remember, it's about a dialogue and we have to talk to each other. And so if you make the child angry and they come sit in my chair and they just pouting, we're not getting anything done. And so basically you have a role to play and to support the child in finding out what that unmet need is, whether it was from childhood, whether it's from bullying, whether it's from being shame, whether it's from, anything else that's going on. And from anger management, if there are any other recommendations that need to be forwarded on to another professional, and then that's where I come in as well as with my case management experience. So if you would like to reach me at Community Hands of Hope, you can reach me at 702 North 19th Street, suite number 3. I'm in the office with Miss LaShonda and Miss Casey. It's a resource center. There are many services available to there. And also you can reach me at phone number 386-916-6672. I hope that someone will put that in the comments. And also you can reach me at my email address is help, HELP, at communityhandsofhope.com, but community is spelled with an M and not an N. So it's COMMUNITY, handsofhope.com. And also you can reach me at my website at www.communityhandsofhope.com. And so I hope that is enough information for you if I were speaking too fast. But I hope that someone, I think it's best that if I need to, I'll put it in the comments before we end this video so that people can have the contact information so they can reach me. But if not, I'll put it in there afterwards if the information is not in there. So thank you so much. If there are no other questions, LaShonda, do you have any other questions? Yeah. Casey, you have any questions?
I don't have any questions. I just want to say thank you for your time. And I look forward to seeing you in the community more often. And I'm really hoping that the community will give a positive feedback.
Oh, I was on mute right there. So thank you so much. I will say that, LaShonda, you mentioned something about, the teams and the fighting. I think one of the other things is that we have to teach our children to respect authority. I understand that we have many dynamics going on in our community, and I know that sometimes we're treated unfair, but we have to try to provide a solution. I want to be a solution to the problem and not part of the problem. And so that's what Community Hands of Hope is. I just want to provide solutions for the problem and come in with solutions and not be a part of the problem. So I think that's going to do it for us tonight. Okay. We have all of the information in the comments. I hope that you would tag and share, get this information into the hands that need it. We do not have a certified anger management specialist in Putnam County. If you go on the National Anger Management Association, we do not have a certified anger management specialist. So I hope that we would utilize this resource to help make our community stronger and to build stronger families. So thank you so much for joining us on tonight. Please tag and share for those who were not here or couldn't make it or didn't even seem interested or to know until they get in trouble. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was sarcastic then. Oh, life is tough, LaShonda. We have to laugh sometimes. But thank you so much, Shonda. I do want to tell you, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, Miss Casey, for your support. And I hope that working together, that we can build a bridge within our community that can go cross troubled waters. Okay, I think that's it. The information is in the comments. If there are no other questions and or concerns, thank you so much. This has been very beneficial to me. I hope that if you can, if there's some feedback, anything that, you want to give me some questions, positive or negative. I am that type of person. I take the negative, I grow from the negative. I'm not afraid to, I'm not easily offended. So if there's anyone who's watching this, if you have positive or negative feedback, by all means, please present those questions to me as well. That's what helped me grow and that's what helps me become better. Okay. All right. So a good night, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I mean, I'm not the hostess, but Shonda is. I'm sorry. Miss Shonda, will you want to close us out?
Okay, thank you everyone for joining us on this afternoon. Don't forget, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. No question is too small, no question is crazy. So please give positive feedback in her inbox. Again, thank you all. Have a good night.